Jordan, what's up?
What's going on? We're back.
We're back again.
That's what
Jinx. You owe me a Coke. Was Jinx a thing like back in the day when you were growing up?
Yeah, Jinx was.
Yeah. We would say Jinx, but then we'd have to count to 10. It was like first person to count to 10, and then you'd say you owe me a Coke, which in Texas speak means you owe me a soft drink of your choosing, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
we just called everything Coke.
For us, Jinx was if you said it first, the other person couldn't talk until somebody said your name.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
in school. It lasted about 45 seconds. It was always bad though if it was just like the two of you in a room.
Right. Then you really got something on the other person.
Yeah. Well, you'd go run and find somebody like in.
Say my name.
That's besides the point. So a lot of lacrosse stuff going on this week.
Tis the season, right? And we're grateful to have it because this time last year, it all went away. So we're stoked to be able to talk current lacrosse right now.
It is a blessing. And on top of that, March is continually mad. The mad. I've thoroughly enjoyed March Madness. So lacrosse, one big thing this week was the PLL had its entry draft. So I was wondering if on that PLL entry draft board, if there were any surprises or anything that you would have liked to see.
You know, I'm still learning the ways of the PLL. You know, it's been really cool to see it evolve. This year, the MLL merges with the PLL, which I think is great because I think in lacrosse, there's only room for one pro league, right? And does it take away an opportunity to see some guys or for some guys to play pro lacrosse? Yes. But does it bring together like truly the best competition in the sport of lacrosse? Also, yes. So I think that's really great. Some of the names that I'm really excited to see, obviously, number one pick for the PLL Cannons, Lyle Thompson, right? That's been the one thing that the PLL, probably a couple things, but one major piece missing from the PLL experience is, who some people consider to be the best, at least offensive player, right? In the world. Certainly one of the most skilled players of our time. I'm really excited to see Lyle join the PLL. I'll tell you who I'm excited about, though, specifically Isaiah Davis Allen, IDA.
Great.
Isaiah Davis Allen, right? He's a guy, went to Maryland, played at Maryland, was a part of so many great Maryland teams, made his name in the game of lacrosse as a D-midi, which is just like, there's just so much respect that goes out for somebody who can make a name as a defensive midfielder. Certainly a transition guy, skilled player, can put the ball away, but a great pickup for the PLL as well. Another name, Daniel Baccaro. Do you know Daniel Baccaro?
I know of him.
Yes. He is he's been a guy that's been making a lot of noise at Georgetown. One of the best players in the country, has been playing for a Georgetown program that has continued to build and continued to get stronger and stronger after a little bit of a dip, to be honest, but he has been their best player for a while. I think that his notoriety will continue to grow as a part of the PLL, because I think people are really going to see him on a different stage than where he's been at Georgetown. And no disrespect to Georgetown, they are working incredibly hard to continue to build that program. But I think that it's going to be a great opportunity for Daniel to show out. So those are a couple of my picks. People I'm excited to see. Can't wait.
Definitely. So one thing I wanted to say, besides Lyle Thompson being the first pick of the draft, was the least surprising thing. I was kind of surprised that Colin Heacock was picked in the third round. And I know that a lot of that has to do with team need and maybe system. as some of these coaches continue to try and develop an identity in this league, in this new league with new rules and kind of a different pace of play. But Colin Heacock was like a staple MLL performer since he graduated from Maryland. And I would be one of the best players in that league. So for him to be a round 3 selection, I would look out for him to have a little chip on his shoulder when he plays. Yeah. And that's going to fit really well with the team that drafted him, the Chrome, because I think they have a chip on their shoulder. So I'm excited to see that kind of develop. I think he automatically and instantly brings something new and a nice punch to their offense. So it was an interesting thing to see. And I'm very interested on how that will continue to play out. Yeah.
And of course, we got to shout out our guy. You're wearing his shirt right now, Drew Simino. Drew Simino is a former, but always Nazareth College Golden Flyer. He's the one guy from Nazareth that's in the pro league right now, and one of few D3 players facing off. Got picked up by the Cannons. So we're looking for Drew to continue to be a great PLL player. And he started in the MLL, and it's been really, really great to watch him grow. And somebody who I got a chance to coach when he was in college and see him develop. So super proud of Drew Simino and everything that he's accomplished and how he's represented our college program throughout the last few years.
So I think because he now is playing for a different team, this makes this shirt like a vintage shirt already.
Yes. Yeah. And I actually have the exact same shirt. So let's hold on to these. Maybe frame. Are we going to frame them?
I might frame mine. Yeah, I might frame
Simino original.
Speaking of Division III players, we have tonight a conversation with Danny Leventhal, a former Tufts University player, a national champion. And probably more importantly at this point, the founder and man behind Bronx Lacrosse, which is continually growing and providing an outlet of the game for people who may not otherwise have an opportunity to play it.
People like to talk about growing the game, right? That's a phrase that goes around a lot in the lacrosse world. Individuals who are dedicated to creating access points for underserved individuals, underserved communities into the game of lacrosse. That's the work, right? That is the true growth of the sport. So we're really fortunate, really lucky to have Dan on to talk about the process that is the process and the program that is Bronx Lacrosse in New York City. It's a great message, a great program. If you have it in your heart to support them, there are ways that you can do that. We'll talk about it throughout the cast. So really excited to share his life in lacrosse.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Time and Space podcast. It's season 2, episode 2. For those of you keeping track at home, I'm Jordan Hirsch. He's Francis Donald. We have segment Sean Tandy in the building. We have Big W in the building, and we are joined by none other than Danny Leventhal, the founder and head honcho over at Bronx Lacrosse. We are really excited to have Danny here to share his life in lacrosse and what he's done with Bronx Lacrosse to date. We'll get into all those things tonight. So Danny, thanks for joining us.
You guys are awesome. I've been following it. It's been so exciting, so pumped to be here on Time and Space. Let's do it, fellas.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're going to kick it off with a fit check. I'm going to throw it over to Francis to start us off.
Well, I don't know if I've worn this one before. This is one of the new Legend Cops, Legend Hats, official, unofficial, mostly unofficial sponsor of the Time and Space podcast. I don't know if those who are viewing on YouTube recognize this, but it's got a little Saved by the Bell flavor a la Nerf. I think this is actually a Nerf logo. So a little play here. Got some funky colors. I'm all about the color palette. Also want wanted to wrap November Project. November Project is a free fitness community started out in Boston, actually, with a good friend of mine, Brogan Graham, and his friend Boyan. And they have taken it now to, I want to say, almost 49, 50, 51 cities across the world. They basically meet 2 days a week. You show up in one place and do some sort of outdoor workout. Like I said, free fitness. And for me, when I came to San Diego, it was a great place to meet some friends, some like-minded people, some people that are still involved in my life, even 5 years later. So shout out to November Project and anybody in any of their affiliate cities that are a part of it.
Nice. That's a big plug, and worthy.
Worthy.
Hey, you don't have to pay anything. Just show up.
I feel like I'm already here with a bunch of stylish guys with their get up,
Well, tell us what you got, Dan. Tell us what you're wearing.
What I have is the same thing I have every single day. The Bronx Lacrosse tee. They come in a couple different colors. We'll go black, white, gray, or light blue. And each day, depending on how I'm feeling, I'll put one on, man. And that's pretty much it. You got to rep at all times. You know how it is.
Love it. Love it.
Sweet. I got my Water Dogs shirt on today. I thought it would be a good day to rock the Water Dogs shirt. I'm going to be honest. I don't know that I'm necessarily a fan of any specific team in the PLL. If they ever go into cities and there's a New York team, I'll be a fan of them. But our buddy and great friend, Drew Simino, this is his jersey. I don't know if I can get it to the back, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
That's Drew's jersey there.
Let's go.
Amazing.
I think he ended up getting picked up by another team. I want to say the Cannons maybe, but
he is.
Okay. I just
PLL Cannons.
Make sure I followed that correctly, but Drew, when Drew played for the Water Dogs last summer, and I believe the summer before, I obviously wanted to support him and bought this. So with all the exciting stuff going on with the PLL this past week, I thought it would be a great opportunity to break that out along with my my Legend hat, officially unofficial sponsor. So we appreciate Legend for, maybe watching our show at some point. So we're fired up to have Danny here. Danny and I go back. I coached Danny on the 2016 Israel Lacrosse European Championship team. We had a automatic bond, both being from Westchester County and having some common friends. And Danny, I've been able to stay in touch with him and watch him grow this Bronx Lacrosse brand and do some amazing things in New York City. Starting with his ability to reach kids and just open doors for kids, where he started as a teacher in the Bronx, and that kind of ignited the fire for him to want to keep going with lacrosse in the city. And now he does it full time. But that's where we want to start is what are you doing now with Bronx Lacrosse? Tell us a little bit of the background of how it came to be.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I appreciate that. And again, fellas, great to be on here. So for context on Bronx Lacrosse, I mean, obviously, in lower income communities, there's just way less access to organized sports, enrichment activities, extracurricular opportunities. And obviously in those areas too, it's no coincidence. There's also higher rates of asthma, obesity, hunger. When I was a teacher in the South Bronx, I witnessed this firsthand. I was placed at the Highbridge Green Middle School, where there was just a basketball team for boys only at 12 spots. If you were a boy who didn't make that basketball team, or even if you were a girl in the school, you were out of luck to play anything organized at all. So I got there, I just saw an immense need for students. Our program is located in the poorest congressional district of America. And I saw an immense need for our kids to have something to motivate them and get them to work harder. So that's why Bronx Lacrosse was formed, to really help address some of these disparities, so we can help our kids reach their full potential.
That's awesome. That's and especially you sharing that, it's the poorest congressional district in the U.S., that puts things into pretty good perspective. And for you, what was the jump off point? How did you even, that's a great mission, but how do you even get something like that started? I'm sure there's a lot of pushback and a lot of hurdles.
Yeah, for sure. It was a challenge at first, obviously. First and foremost, when you're in the Bronx specifically and throughout New York City, obviously basketball is a sport that's sort of ingrained in the blood of the city. So convincing kids to play a whole new sport that they never even heard of was something that, I thought it would be a challenge at first, but it really turned out, as I mentioned before, that there were so little opportunities that kids sort of jumped to it. I raised enough equipment for my college team, helmets, full equipment for around 25 boys, got them suited up. They started whacking each other with their sticks, and whatever the sport is, mister, I'm in. I want to play. I want more. Because, they didn't have anything else. And then from there, it really just started taking off to where it is today, where you have kids that aren't even in one of our partner middle schools that know when they come in sixth grade that they want to be a part of this program. And it's really been a flower in the Highbridge community, which is our neighborhood in the South Bronx. So it's really been positive to see.
It's really been awesome to watch it grow. I remember talking to you about it briefly back when we had first met, and we were kind of just getting it off the ground, and it's been truly incredible. And to connect some dots too, I just kind of thought of this. We had Paul Kark on a few weeks ago, and I know he's on your board, right? Or he's has been very involved with Bronx Lacrosse.
Yeah. So Paul Carcaterra's brother, Brian Carcaterra, is on our board of directors, and Paul's like one of our important advisors for our program as well. So Paul is super involved with it, and he has his family, the Carcaterra family, just has such deep roots in the Bronx. Right. Paul and Brian's dad went to Cardinal Hayes High School. So they've just been incredible friends of the program and amazing supporters for our kids. So the Carks have been awesome. And obviously, so influential in the lacrosse world. So it's been a pleasure having them involved with Bronx Lacrosse.
Dan, tell us a little bit about your background in lacrosse as a player, and when you think about your foundation and your willingness to share the game with other people, with kids, that usually comes from having a deep connection to your own lacrosse past. So tell us about that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Why I'm here where I am today is because lacrosse made such an impact on me that I knew I had to pass it down to others as well. So I started playing probably in around third grade. I remember, it's a funny story, probably my first or second year playing, I was in third grade. My mom's from upstate New York. This is my earliest memory from lacrosse. My mom went to West Genesee High School, which is a high school. I went actually to a Syracuse camp, and I was probably in third grade, and the camp started where the youngest kids were in like fifth or sixth grade. And I just started, it was within my first year or so playing, I got into a camp where I was a third grader, it was all sixth graders. And then I didn't last very long. I got sent home crying because the big guys were too much for me. That's one of my first memories, man. And it's given me so much. And I knew I had to give back to it. So, lacrosse, I had a successful career in high school where it ended up bringing me to play at Tufts University, where I was fortunate enough to win a national championship, Division III national championship my senior year, which was incredible. And then I've also been involved playing for Team Israel since 2012 as well. And I've built amazing relationships from there, just like I have with Jordan here and so many other friends. So lacrosse has taken me to so many different places in the world, so many different avenues and doors it's opened up, that I know this tight-knit community, exactly like we have right now, is something that I want to introduce kids that don't necessarily have it. Because we think as kids, we get to go out and play lacrosse, you take it for granted. Not everybody has that, and you learn that fairly quickly. So.
I'm glad you brought up your experience at Tufts, because I know it's something that you draw on for inspiration a lot. Any conversation that I have had with Danny about lacrosse, if Tufts isn't mentioned, it's probably not a meaningful lacrosse conversation. He is a very proud alumnus of Tufts. And am I right that Tufts' first national championship, you were on that team? Is that correct? Or were you on the second one?
I was on the second one. So I was a senior in high school when they first won in 2010.
Okay.
And then the following year, 2011, they lost. But it was that 2010 team that really put Tufts on the map.
Right.
For sure. And now, it's taken over. I mean, you guys know the Division III lacrosse, Tufts has been to the championship a bunch of years. So it's been pretty crazy to see them take off like they have.
And I know that, your coach in college had a huge influence on you. And, I don't know that we always get an opportunity to say things to the people that have a big influence on us. So I wanted to give you an opportunity here, and hopefully your coach will be able to hear this. Can you just tell everyone a little bit about what that relationship was like for you?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I was a big jokester in college, and you don't get until you finish. I mean, obviously, everybody has the utmost respect for Coach Daly, who's now at Brown, a huge mentor to me coming up, and you don't even realize it. He's making an impact with you during your time there, but to the extent you don't even realize until it's all done, until you're in the real world and seeing, some of this stuff that Daly was mentioning. Oh, okay, I see what he's talking about now. He is the ultimate competitor. And you know what? It could rub people the wrong way that might not be getting playing time, or he's fiery and he does what it takes to win. And you have to have just the utmost respect for someone like that every decision he makes is for the best of the team. And everything that he does, all decisions he makes is to put everybody in this team in a position to win. And you just have to respect that. And I feel like a lot of the things that I learned from Tufts Lacrosse are stuff that I'm honestly trying to implement in Bronx Lacrosse as well. That hardworking mentality, those extras that we talked about in college all the time. Like, what are you doing outside of practice? What are you doing when nobody's watching? The man in the mirror, those types of things, so valuable. And you get it in school, but you really don't appreciate it until you finish school, and you get in the real world and really start seeing some of those things. So super grateful for Coach Dales. And I know he's going to be just extremely successful at Brown. There's no doubt. I mean, he was a baseball guy, coaching football and lacrosse. It doesn't matter what he coaches, this guy. He can win at any sport, because it doesn't matter the sport. It matters, the culture of a team and getting all arrows going in the right direction. And that's what he did. So.
And I want to hang on to Coach Daly for a second, because Jordan and I graduated from Nazareth in 2007. And at that time, Tufts wasn't really on the big Division III radar, right? They weren't necessarily a part of the landscape, at least from a historical perspective. So, we're talking about Nazareth, Salisbury, Cortland, RIT, Wesleyan in the NESCAC, were some of those top teams. Sure. And so with many, many others, Stevenson, yada, 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 right? But Tufts wasn't really there. And so let's while we're here, let's talk about the rise. Coach Daly, as you said, wasn't he a football coach before he was the head coach of the lacrosse team? Is that right?
He was. So even his early years coaching lacrosse too, he coached football and lacrosse.
Okay.
Yeah. So in opposite seasons, he was like a defensive coach in football. And yeah, I mean, exactly your point. It couldn't be truer. Tufts came out of nowhere. They went up in the 2010 championship run. They went to go play Cortland, and Tufts' name was spelled as Terps on the scoreboard. As Daly would say in college, we're just nobodies from nowhere. Yeah, and it's just that mentality that sort of he got in, he started to get in a couple of recruits, and then it really started to manifest itself. But that's what you're saying. In the early 2000s, Tufts they were just another program. Nobody really even heard of them. And then they really took the Division III field by storm. So that's credit to Daly.
And we're talking about a school that's, just over 5,000 kids, undergrad. Like, it's not huge, right? One of the best academic schools in the country. So certainly had a great platform to recruit from. But there's a guy out here in San Diego, John Ozisi, who is a Tufts guy who is running probably the best lacrosse program, high school lacrosse program in California, at Torrey Pines here. And so there's a lot of history there, and he runs that program like a college program, in the best way possible. So when you think about like a Tufts player, or the Tufts mentality or that brand, what is it really? Give us a little bit of insight.
First of all, I got to tell you this: John Ozisi's father is Dr. Z, Dr. Vangel Zissi, and he is a Tufts lacrosse legend. He is at every single game. Dr. Z he is the key to Tufts lacrosse success. And he's just an incredible guy, an incredible mentor to so many people who's a part of the Tufts lacrosse family. So he's incredible. And John O's doing a great job out in Torrey Pines too. So it's incredible. As far as what a Tufts lacrosse player is, I mean, it comes in any shape, size. It has nothing to do with really anything besides that you want to work and you want to work, and you want to win. We have guys. I mean, I think one of the best players in Tufts lacrosse history who just actually got picked up by the Cannons in the PLL is Johnny Upgren. He's undersized. People look at him and don't see a lacrosse player. And there's so many instances like that at Tufts where it's just guys that want it, that work hard. And
you've got a guy who is on Coach the Virginia staff, right? Who was with Lars Tiffany at Brown.
Yeah, so that was one of my former teammates and former coaches. That's Sean Kerwin, who's just risen the ranks as far as in the coaching pyramid. He's doing an incredible job at Virginia, and it's that tough style too that that we should probably talk about for the rise of their success. Is just like Daly is just like, we're going, and I'll never forget this story. Just so you guys can get a sense of it. It's a true story. RIT was number 1 in the country, I think. I forget what year this was when we were there, and Tufts was going up to play RIT, and RIT was the highest scoring team in the country. But Tufts, we still scored a lot of goals too. I think we still hold the record. My senior year, we still hold the record for the most goals scored in maybe NCAA history, I think, over 400 something. But at any rate, we went up to RIT, and somebody from some magazine asked Daly, like, RIT, who's averaging like 22 goals a game, how's your defense going to stop them? And Daly, there was some version of that, and Daly responded by saying, "Well, we're going to score 25. That's how we're going to. That's what our defense is going to do. We're going to score 25 goals, and that's how we're going to." And that rang true. And you know what? We did go out and score probably around 25 to beat them. So that's a little bit about Tufts for you.
Yeah.
It's I can't help but think about talk about putting in extra time and doing, what many would call like unseen hours, doing things on your own. And of course, what does Danny do when I coached him on the Israeli team? We'd get off the bus from the hotel when we got to the field. And what did Danny want to do before games? We'd go up to the upper field that was unused, and I'd put him through a shooting workout before every game. So while everybody's kind of doing their own thing, that's what Danny thought he needed to do to prepare for a game. And it makes a lot of sense if that's the culture that worked. That's something that Danny stuck to. So he did basically a full shooting workout before every game on the turf at Euros in 2016. And it seemed to do pretty well. So I get it. I get it.
That's such an important concept too. And honestly, that's something that I'm talking to my kids about all the time is like, what are you doing when nobody's watching? You know what I mean? Because it's like, I tell my kids, we'll have two, 3 practices a week. you guys started in 6th grade. You know, a lot of players that are playing out in Westchester, Long Island, they're starting in 1st or 2nd grade. So I'm not telling you guys that you don't have a chance, because I think you guys are amazing athletes and you have a ton of potential. But these 2 practices and a game a week, it's not going to cut it. And we'll see the best players in our program, and we'll get into John Pena in a few, are those kids that just find the wall, you know, that put in the time, that are sending my coaches and me videos of themselves playing wall ball, you know, just finding a handball court and playing wall ball. And those are the kids that are ultimately going to be the most successful in the sport, are the ones that really put in the work. And that's something that you can emphasize that at college, professional, and youth. I feel it rings true for everything. So important too, you know.
Dan, help us understand, and Jordan and I are both coaches, and Jordan's a teacher with middle school kids. I coach middle school kids. We've both been involved with high school. A lot of people that may be listening to this are, you know, maybe parents of or coach high school kids in a more traditional sense. So when we're thinking about a Bronx lacrosse kid, what sort of challenges might you see that may be different from, you know, your average high school or average middle school kid? And how do you find ways to really program what you're doing to be received by students who have, you know, unique challenges to what most people may be used to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of challenges, and we sort of talked about that a little bit before. It's just like, our kids don't have somebody to get them a new stick, to get them to lacrosse practice, to motivate them to always get their homework in, because a lot of our students come from single parent households where their mom or their father or whoever has to work a job, where students themselves have their own responsibilities that they have to take care of at home. They carry a ton of different weight on their shoulders, man, that kids that I grew up with myself, that I never even thought about and experienced before. And you know, that's why it's been so eye-opening to me. And I'm still learning, you know, this is my 6th or 7th year in the Bronx now, and I'm still learning about, you know, just the adversity that our kids face on a day-to-day basis. And that like brings us into the concept of our parents with our program. Like, they're super, super supportive of the program too, but like, they don't have the opportunity to come to a lot of games. You know, we have parents that are worrying about where their next meal is coming from. So while lacrosse is just super impactful for our kids, you know, they face so many different challenges. And I went into it before, like the per capita income of Highbridge is around $17,000. You know, 14% of the adults above the age of 25 in the neighborhood have a college degree. So there's not a lot of hope to go around here, you know, and that's what we're trying to do with the program is inspire our kids and give them hope that, you know, if they stick to this, they attend school, they work hard, that no matter what the hand that they're dealt, that they can achieve life success. And we're starting to see it. And we're starting to see some results in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a period of buy-in that lasts a long time. It might last, 7 years. It might take 7 years to really instill that culture. How do you work with students academically? Is there a program for academic success and tracking?
So 100%. So I'm really glad that you asked that. So our program, while obviously we're on a lacrosse podcast, lacrosse is not the end goal of our program. Okay, we are essentially an academic and a sports-based youth development program. So we have substantial academic requirements that our students need to sort of do in order to be in the program. And what that looks like, even during COVID, it's been extremely impressive, if we're being honest, to see the success we've had academically, despite being in a virtual environment. I mean, you know, our kids are all going to school virtually. We have, you know, I have a tutor corps of around 80 volunteer tutors right now.
Wow.
Where they're working with students at minimum for 1 hour a week. A ton of students are seeing 2 hours a week. Our high school kids are a minimum of 2 hours a week. And our program's nearing around 90% attendance to virtual tutoring sessions.
Wow.
Because we tie it so closely to lacrosse. If you miss a tutoring session, you can't show up to the next lacrosse practice. So academics are completely woven to everything that we do. And a big piece of that too is it's been a little bit trickier this year due to COVID, but attendance is really important for us too. Getting to school is super, super important. So we usually have pretty strict attendance requirements. They've been eased a little bit, of course, because of COVID. So no kid is asked or given time off from the program due to attendance right now. But there is a major academic component. So, we do test prep. There's a mentoring component as well. We do social emotional skill building, where we do weekly team build, like a couple times a month. We'll do like bi-weekly, couple times a month. So we'll do these team building sessions a couple times a month where kids are working on, leadership skills, how to be a part of a team, motivating each other and other important things like that. So it's been pretty cool to see.
You mentioned that you feel like you've seen some success even in the short time that you've been doing this. And you mentioned the name John Pena. And, I was fortunate. I got to see some of these kids play when they were younger. Tell us a little bit about some of the success stories, maybe starting with John and just where they're at now and maybe where they're looking to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it too. The nature of the line of work that we're in is everything, it's all about little successes. There's going to be, it's 2 steps forward, a step back. But just knowing that you're continuing to go in a positive direction is what keeps me going. And a major accomplishment for our program and for John Pena himself has been just his work ethic and how he's just improved from a kid in 7th grade to a fine young man who's going to be attending college next year. Has just been amazing to see. So as you mentioned before, John started playing lacrosse when he was in 7th grade, probably around 2016 or 2017. I'm somewhere around that year. And he fell in love with the sport instantly. He's a phenomenal athlete. He was the point guard on the basketball team, extremely quick hands. He picked up lacrosse very, very quickly. Where in 8th grade, he knew he wanted to continue playing. So he got into Cardinal Hayes High School, which already had a lacrosse program. It's a Catholic school in the Bronx. And from his freshman year, he sort of just continued working into his sophomore year, and now he's a senior. He's probably the best player in New York City right now. And he got essentially a full scholarship to play Division II lacrosse at St. Thomas Aquinas. Where he's going next fall. He's going to be the first person in his family to attend college. So it's an extremely cool deal. And I like to think, obviously, lacrosse is obviously a major factor for that, and John being a part of the program. And it's a kid who, not to say he doesn't work hard in school, academics are a challenge, and just to see that he continued to work through it. And now he's in a position where he doesn't have to pay a lot of money to go to a college and continue playing lacrosse. It's just been so super special to see. And he's an amazing player too. Like, let me just put it that way. He has, I'll tell you his, he hasn't played against the best competition, obviously playing in the Bronx and playing against New York City teams as opposed to Westchester or Long Island. So I think that put him a little bit of a step back, but he has, without a doubt, I'd say right now, one of the best sticks of any player I've ever seen at any level. And I was telling that to Paul Carcaterra, any pro, anybody, what he can do with a stick right now, and I'll send you some wall ball videos after this. It's insane. It's really cool to see.
I can co-sign that. I've seen this kid play. I've seen some of the videos. We'll make sure that we get them up on our social media. He's legit. He can definitely stick trick with the best of them. That's for sure.
He can stick. He's righty, lefty. He's shooting at 100 miles an hour, close to it, both hands. And I even said, we were watching. I was talking to some of my staff. He just had 5-6 goals in a high school game this past weekend. And we were watching that game. I haven't seen him play in a while. I was like, I'm pretty sure he would start on Tough's Man Up right now. Pretty sure.
There's no excuse for not hitting the wall if you live in New York City. If there's one thing they have it in New York City, it's walls.
Yeah, we have a ton of walls. Not a ton of fields, but a ton of walls.
Right.
Not a lot of places to play safe lacrosse, but we have a ton of walls for sure. And the kids find them. They find everybody has their special wall for the kids that work at it, and that is a pretty cool thing. Those walls. You don't have to go very far to get better. So that's pretty cool.
How do you guys find your field space? Is that at this point, is it something you have nailed down, or is it always a struggle?
Oh, that's a great question, man. That's my life. I scratch. How do I do it? I scratch and claw. That's how I do it. So no, but for real, we've actually from this year, we've made a lot of headway. There's a local in the community right around our schools. There's a patch of turf. It's probably 30 yards by 50 yards. And we've been getting out there after school. It's been pretty good. So we got some permits for that. And it's a lot better than a blacktop or a gym. Kids learn how to scoop up ground balls and with spacing. So it's been super helpful for us. And then on weekends, we'll either go travel to a field or we'll play on a full field on Randall's Island, which is where all New York City kids go to play. But that's something that we want to play on fields because obviously it's key to the development of lacrosse players.
Absolutely. I was just having a thought, and I'd love for us to digest this for a quick second. As you've been describing the breadth of your program, right? Lacrosse, life skills, academic skills. I'm wondering for all those other lacrosse club programs that are out there in the country, why is it just lacrosse in most of the club programs? Why isn't there some sort of academic tracking, academic investment? Because even when I've coached club lacrosse, I know that there's been kids that come out that aren't doing well academically, but they're still finding 2 hours during the week to come out to practice and more hours on the weekend. So it's interesting that, I think you're running a program like Bronx Lacrosse and you're doing the academic tracking because it's important for those kids to succeed, but it's important for all kids to do that. That is to prepare kids for college and beyond as well. I mean, in college, if you don't meet a certain standard, you're not going to play. And that goes back to certain college teams where you have to stand up if you have a GPA that's below a certain number and stuff like that. So tying everything to academics because it's so crucial because, at this point, it's pretty much proven that in order to live, and be successful, college degrees are important. And that obviously is so closely tied into academics, which I completely agree, for sure. And that's true, though, too. And I think also to answer that question, too, is like in a lot of areas, you have programs where kids can go play club lacrosse, but they also have their private tutor from 2 to 3 on Wednesdays and Thursdays, or they can or their teachers can give them extra time and stuff like that. So, but I do think you're absolutely right. The academic buy-in and closely monitoring that is essential to holding kids to high standards.
I think that a really interesting piece of this is like the carrot, right? So for the students or the players, the carrot is, well, I get to do what I want, which is to play, if I do X, Y, Z. So, what a club like Bronx Lacrosse does is they say, here's the X, Y, Z, do this, and you can get what you want, right? Now, ultimately, that get what you want is going to turn into something much greater in 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever that is.
I wanted to see if we could switch gears and talk about race for a minute. Being in the Bronx, I'd love for you to tell us, sort of not specifically numbers wise, but, are there multiple ethnicities that you are seeing, races and ethnicities within the Bronx Lacrosse family?
Yeah. So we're 100% black and brown. We have, we're 75% Hispanic, Latinx, and 25% black in our program. Yeah. So it's,
and in the past year, obviously COVID is a huge topic, but also social justice at the same time. And just wondering if at all how that has shown up within the program. Have there been conversations that you've as a group have tackled, or any instances of really seeing that your players, your students are feeling the social unrest that our country has experienced?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And of course, the answer to that question is of course. So as soon as the events obviously transpired of last year, obviously, me as a leader of an organization, being white and, being a leader of 150 Black and brown kids, I have to listen. And that's sort of, what I did. And we opened up forums for kids to sort of share their thoughts and really speak up on some of these issues. We did a couple close talks where our staff was leading, kids talking about, just what are their thoughts on police brutality and race in America, and just having a lot of different conversations to give the students a chance for their voices to be heard. And this was not the time for me to sort of, really lead the conversation by any means, because I don't know what it's like. But we did, I did a ton of listening, and really had these tough conversations with kids, where they were really talking about their feelings and how they feel walking down the block, near police officers, and what it's like being a brown student in New York City. So those conversations have definitely happened. We definitely need to, continue having them, for sure. But it was definitely something that we do as a program.
That's great. It's great to hear. I'm sure those, kids in any urban area have a different concept of, some of those factors you mentioned, just interacting with a cop, walking by a cop, police brutality, whatever it may be. So I'm sure that those are rich conversations, and hopefully they felt empowered by having them.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And then there, it was just so interesting, just the vast variety of viewpoints. Some students with none at all, some with extremely strong viewpoints. So just giving them that opportunity to speak out has obviously been so crucial, man. And then obviously on the topic of race too, it's just, that's why it's so important for me as a leader of this group, is to expose our kids to people with backgrounds similar to themselves, which we tried to do during COVID, who, Black and brown lacrosse players who have gone on to be successful. So they don't just see it's a predominantly white sport. And because that issue of race, it comes up all the time in our program. We go on trips because I want to give our kids real competition. And we don't get that in New York City a lot. So we'll go out to Westchester or New Jersey to play. And it doesn't take them very long to realize that none of the other kids look like them. And we even went into this, it was actually funny. One of our first trips, one of our first trips, probably around the same time we went up to Hen Hud. We went to my alma mater, Horace Greeley. And I remember one of my kids, Jermaine, to this day, who's probably a senior in high school right now, saying, I didn't know this many white people were in New York before. I've never seen this many white people in one spot. I thought you had to go to Alaska for that. And that's a true story. And, we laugh about it now, but I was like, holy cow, like he wasn't joking. And I was like, all right. So, it's so important to expose our students to people with similar backgrounds as them.
I didn't ask you before, what's the cost to entry for these players, and how do they find their way into your program other than just saying, yeah, I want to try lacrosse?
Yeah, great question. So the cost to entry is zero. So our kids, we supply all equipment, we supply all our academic services, all our programming is free for our kids. Because if there was any sort of cost, it'd be extremely limiting. I mean, we have families that simply they wouldn't be able to afford it. So we have zero cost for our program. And sorry, what was the second part of your question again? Oh, how are students committed to the program? Yes. Yeah. So essentially now, we're partnered with schools, and we will take any kid we do tryouts at the beginning of the year. This year's looked a little bit different with COVID, but essentially what we do is any student that comes that's committed to lacrosse, they sort of go on, we call it like a sort of tryout period where they attend all the academic requirements and they attend all the practices as well. They sort of then just get enrolled in the program. So we're not basing anything on athletic ability. We do have great athletes. We have kids that are just like being a part of a team. Both are extremely important to have. And yeah, as long as students are committed to both portions, the lacrosse and the academic side, is that there's going to be a place for you in Bronx Lacrosse.
Awesome. And is there a function sort of, I don't know if you're familiar with Prep for Prep, which is an academic organization that places students into independent schools. Do you have any sort of affiliations for pushing kids into private schools? Or are you keeping them in their public school system as well?
Yeah. So right now, what we're really trying to focus on right now is we want to make sure that all of so this year I have around 25 eighth graders. So we want to find, we have to find public school options in the Bronx. So where we can get to a point as a program where any eighth grader in Bronx Lacrosse that wants to continue receiving our services and continue playing lacrosse has the opportunity to do so. So that's at the forefront of our work right now, where we have an initial partnership with University Heights High School, which we're so excited about. We have 8 kids there right now that are freshmen. That were at one of our other middle schools. And we're also looking to form another local partnership with another high school just to give more kids that opportunity. And of course, if students want to, explore independent schools, that's definitely an option for sure for some select talented individuals that have the ability to do so. But I think for a lot of our kids, we need to make sure there's a home for them in the community. Where, there's no barriers of cost or anything like that. So that's been super important because community is huge for us. Like what we've done in such a short amount of time in this area is we see kids walking around lacrosse with lacrosse sticks. People in the community know what it is. And it's, as I said before, it's been a true flower in the neighborhood. So that's what we're really trying to do is build up this community and get more John Peñas for the neighborhood to see.
That's awesome. Love that community building aspect for sure. We talk about that a lot. It seems like every conversation drifts into community building at some point. Yeah, man.
This area of Highbridge too, where our school's at, it's like, it needs support. I mean, it's the poorest congressional district. There's no local bank. There's no local restaurants. I mean, it's isolated from the subway. It's a tough area. It's a vibrant area. It's an amazing community, but life isn't easy there. And our kids, they face adversity and they just keep moving and working as hard as they can to reach their goals.
Nice. Great. Just wanted to give you one opportunity. If there's organizations that have been supporting Bronx Lacrosse for a while that you wanted to shout out, please feel free to use the air.
Yeah, we've had a ton of, I can't even tell you, man, we've had so many different supporters to help us get to where we are right now. It obviously starts with our partner schools, where I was first a teacher at the Highbridge Green School. Then we got into the Rafael Hernandez Dual Language Magnet School and our amazing partnership with WEDCO, who's an after-school community development organization that we've been closely partnered with. Those are our 3 core main partners. Then to all the volunteers, the tutors, the different groups, the different towns that we're partnership. I'm not going to name out individuals now, but it's just so many people. It's such an effort of so many different people that are involved that really help our program get to where we want to be. So appreciative of everybody involved.
Before we kind of move on and bring Shawnee in here, I want to give you the opportunity. I'm hoping that some of them get to listen to you on this. If you could give them one thing, one motivating thing, one thing that you would want to say to all your players, past and present, let them have it right now.
Yeah, it's easy, man. And this is what I tell them every single day. You can do it. If you work hard at something, you can accomplish it. There's no questions about it, despite the barriers, which they have. And we tell them that all the time. You know, I started my life on third base. They started it at home plate. But if you put your mind to something and you work and you're passionate, you do well in school, that you can accomplish what you want. And we see that with John, and we're going to see that with many more success stories to come, that our kids can do it and they know it. Like, you know, we didn't have a season last spring. The spring before that in 2019, both our boys and our girls middle school teams from Highbridge Green were middle school champions in New York City. Our boys went undefeated. So they're starting to see it, that you know, this sport can take them places. And whether it's lacrosse or whether this is just something that, you know, is keeping them on the right path is everything that we're trying to do. And our kids can reach that life success if they stay on the right track.
Love that message. And, you know, it's important for any student to hear that they have somebody in their corner that really does believe, that there is hope for them and that they should have hope for themselves. And so, when you talk about the Bronx lacrosse family and the population that you're serving, you know, I can understand how powerful hearing those words over and over again, right? Reinforcing that there is that future, having that future mindset, having a student that's going to college and playing lacrosse, right? Because, you know, wherever, you know, we came from, we always had people that we could see, that we could watch, right? That made it real for us. And so I'm sure having one of your own go off and play is going to be the fuel that you've needed to really get that buy-in from some of your other players.
And it takes time. You know, it all takes time, and that's so true. You want to see it to make it. Okay, John Penn, you can do it. I can do it. So he came from the exact neighborhood that I did. All right, he can do it. I can do it. And it's spot on, man. 100%.
All right, gentlemen. Dan, it's a pleasure to have you on. Really awesome to have you on. And what we do here on the Time and Space podcast, we have a little thing called stick picks. So got my stick here, good old Crypto Pro. From way back in the day. I'm sure you used one of these back in the day. So really what we do is I got a couple topics in here, and this is our chance to ask and really have a conversation, you know, a little bit of a shot clock situation, and really talk about just about anything. So let's see what we get into today. I like this one. Dan, tell us about NESCAC lacrosse, what it's like. Underrated conference.
Wait,
in general.
Hold on. You sure you picked that randomly?
That was, I had some topics prep for you, and that one came out first. So listen, you're a NESCAC guy. Give us a breakdown. It's
the mini Ivy League now, man. I mean, it is. When I got to Tufts in 2011 in that fall, and we had players that, you know, we're really good, but the level of overall talent on the team from when I was a freshman to when I was a senior, it was ridiculous. Like, we had every single player, we had 50 guys in 2014. Every single kid on that team was a player, was a baller. And I think we're just starting to see that. It's great players are starting to be littered throughout the NESCAC. Amherst is competing now. Wesleyan just won a national championship. I mean, I think it's the best league in Division III, fellas. Sorry.
Oh, that's a big claim. These are some Empire 8 guys.
I'm not going to disagree.
It pains me to say that, but you can't disagree, and you absolutely can. And you got to remember too, Danny, our last game, Francis and I's last game was at Wesleyan. So yeah, it still hurts.
I got no love for Middletown, Connecticut. Let me just say that.
Did they still play the zone back then?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was the heyday, the zone heyday.
That old. Yeah, that was a, you know, I don't know how many other schools are going to start doing this as rules continue to change, but that was a big time curveball back then for sure.
What, the zone?
You run into a team that's a zone team that really didn't ever happen except for them, and they've made it work. That's for sure.
Yeah, you spend your whole week preparing for that zone.
And unless you're tough and you're like, oh, nothing changed. Just throw the ball in the goal.
Just shoot the ball.
That's what we were told. Wesleyan zone doesn't matter. Just shoot the ball and put it in the net. And then do that more times than then, and we'll be successful.
I really feel like the NESCAC is the place where so many players who, may not get as many D1 looks or just a little bit under-recruited, but super high talent play in the NESCAC. Like it's a division where you see so much high talent, like you were referencing, Dan. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is literally, it's crazy. There are some just nasty players that come out of the NESCAC that go on to play pro, and it's insane the level of talent at the top for sure.
When I was coaching at Nazareth after 2007, one of our favorite pastimes was to keep tabs on the NESCAC tournament, because most tournaments, 4 teams got in. The NESCAC tournament, it was like 7 or 8 teams got in, and it was just a bloodbath every year. I mean, you would have a team like Tufts who, established themselves at the top. Middlebury had been there for a while. Then you've got, Bates and Colby and Williams. In any given year, somebody random would make the finals. Somebody, Williams would beat some team that they weren't supposed to beat. It was just always a melee. It was like the 8th round, 9th round in a boxing match, the NESCAC tournament.
So well said, because that's extremely true. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day. That's so true.
It's always been amazing to me that how the top teams changed in the past 15 years, right? You had Middlebury, then it was Tufts, and then it's Wesleyan, and Williams now has kind of crept up to the top. I'm being told I have 14 seconds left, so I will wrap that up with a bow and say NESCAC, hurts me to say it, it's the best Division III conference out there right now. I'm not going to argue it.
Next.
Some ballers for sure. Some really good players for sure. And some fun lacrosse at the NESCAC tournament in March. I feel like every time it goes on to, if it's at Wesleyan, it's on like a muddy field in March. Like people are scrapping. Yeah. It gets electric. All right, here you go, Dan. I'm telling you, man, this is at random. This is at random. This is a good one. This is something we touched upon a little bit as well, but again, it's something I want to go in depth to, and just kind of what you've seen, Dan, too. Just how do we really combat barriers of entry for lacrosse and combat that stigma, that negative stigma that surrounds lacrosse when it comes to, being an expensive sport or just being a sport that is not as inclusive as some people may think. If you had any thoughts on 4 minutes, Chance.
Yeah, that's where lacrosse, I know we spoke on that a little bit, so I'll go quick here, but lacrosse as a sport in general, the barrier to entry just needs to go down. It can't be this expensive to get a $300 helmet, $150 elbow pads and gloves. The barrier to entry has to go down so this sport can spread in communities that don't have those resources to pay for that equipment. Because while Bronx Lacrosse is great and it's amazing that, we can provide all this to our students, we'd love kids in other communities to just be able to go to a store, buy a lacrosse stick and go out and play without necessarily a program. So I think the sport has a long way to go in that, in reducing that barrier to entry so we can start, getting more diverse groups and people from different backgrounds that aren't your stereotypical lax bro from Maryland or Long Island playing the sport. So yeah, we got to reduce the barrier to entry for sure.
I would say that we need more guys like Dan Leventhal in the game of lacrosse, willing to spend the time and the energy creating a space that is actively lowering the entry to lacrosse. Because what do we see right now? We see guys leaving college or parents going to newer areas that haven't been, that are non-traditional areas, and they're starting club programs and they're charging an arm and a leg. in order to do that, because it's become a source of income. That, I think, is one of the travesties in our game right now, is that it is an income stream. And in areas where it's competitive, the club scene is competitive, that only makes it worse. So, spreading the game, I think Jordan and I, we talk about, there's always people that are like, oh, you gotta spread the game. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. And, if you really want to do it, you're going to make it easy. I remember the first lacrosse clinic I went to was probably like $25. And I spent 3 hours there and learned how to pass and catch, right? The foundation of what I needed to be a lacrosse player was there. And I got a freaking, jersey to go along with it. And that was something that I could do as a low income individual in Dallas. Luckily, if we're not creating those opportunities for kids, we're not getting them. We're only holding it up there for students and families who can really pay for it right now.
And that's so true too. That whole club lacrosse thing. You guys are a little bit older than me, but we didn't really have any clubs. It was, you were playing a part of your town, and that was it, and now you're right. It's just become, it's so competitive. Kids are playing year round. They're getting trainers, and, just to stay at a high level, what kids are doing, and that entry is insane.
I think that's a huge point is, I think we're so competitive. Our culture is competitive. I'm competitive. I'm not trying to undersell that. I love competing. I love that idea, but let's get down to the really bare bones of what this sport is about. It's about camaraderie, and it's about finding something that you can love. I think everybody who plays this and really connects to it, they fall in love with it, and that does not discriminate against anybody. And at this point, it's about giving everybody some equity and being able to fall in love with it, because some people don't even know it exists, and there's no doubt it's because of those barriers. And that was the bell.
All right, Dan. All right, Jordan. All right, Francis. Let's get into a little, I'm going to call it this or that. Really what we're going to do is just going to be some rapid fire questions, right? So I'm going to give them to you. We'll make it a little, have a little bit of order to it, so it's not too, nobody gets lost. So we're going to go Jordan, Dan, Francis in terms of answering. So I'm going to give you guys a question, just no thought processes. Give me an answer. All right. We'll have some fun with this.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, chicken parm or meatball sub?
Chicken parm.
Chicken parm.
Meatball sub.
Yo. All right, this is for my guy, Dan. Chopped cheese or bacon, egg, and cheese?
Bacon, egg, and cheese.
Bacon, egg, and cheese.
Yeah, bacon, egg, and cheese. Salt, pepper, ketchup. Let's go.
I will echo that salt, pepper, and ketchup. That's what I'm talking about.
Wow. You get a little hot sauce on there too. Could be nice. I'm not a ketchup and the bacon, egg, and cheese guy, but
you know what I had for my first time in my life? Yesterday morning, egg, hash brown, cheese on a roll.
Never had a hash brown before?
No, I never had it on an egg sandwich.
Oh, wow. Dan, really good.
You got to go up to Montrose.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I had that yesterday. I was like, whoa, why have I never? Because I usually just go bacon. I never thought to put a hash brown in there.
Yeah.
Now you gotta put the bacon back on there with the hash brown.
Oh yeah.
Sandwich up by us. That's
some good stuff. If you go to Rocky's, which is near us too, you could get a bacon, egg, and cheese hash brown with a chicken cutlet on it. And that will give you an automatic sleep. You're going to have to sleep for like 15 hours after that, but that's a crazy one. All right. We're getting off track. My bad. First lacrosse head, Jordan.
First lacrosse head. The M1.
Proton.
Also the M1. Yeah.
I was a Proton guy too, funny enough.
Proton.
That's a big step up, starting with a Proton.
It was super wide, and I loved it. It was easy to catch. It was so easy to catch. And I still have that to this day, by the way. I tell kids I like wide heads because it's easy to catch.
There you go.
Bronx Lacrosse, you won't find any narrow heads in this program.
That is a great thing. That is a great thing.
But it's true.
It is true. 100%.
It is true. That's a good point. All right. We got a couple of scholars on the podcast. Better subject, math or literature?
I have to say math because I teach math.
Math.
I'm going lit.
For sure. Lit. Pacino or De Niro?
Ooh.
Which one's which?
Both old white actors.
Yeah. I'm going to go Pacino.
Me too.
Yeah. I think Any Given Sunday, I got to go Pacino.
There you go.
Right here. They're in front of me.
Now we got to peek into Dan's pump up every time to his guys in Bronx Lacrosse. Funniest movie you've seen? One of the funniest.
Funniest. One of the best quotable movies. I'll go with Wedding Crashers. One of my favorites.
All time. I'm going with Rush Hour 2. Chris Tucker.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yes. I'm going to round this out and just go with Anchorman.
Yes.
Wow. I don't know if this is a competition, but Dan's winning. Dodgeball or capture the flag?
Dodgeball. Chuck and duck.
Capture the flag. I think I answered out of order. I'm sorry.
No, but that was good because that also gave me time to process.
Yeah.
Capture the flag.
There you go. All right.
Want to show
for
my
working
speed.
out. Got to show your speed. For working out, cardio or lifting?
Lifting. I don't even want to think about cardio. Lifting.
Wow, this has been a transition for me, but I'm going cardio now.
What?
Wow. Okay.
That
As a spin instructor, I think I got to go with cardio.
Yeah.
That's how you're going there. Throwback to our last episode. We prefaced it a little bit. Barbecue or tacos?
Oh.
You have to eat one.
Throw back to our last episode. Where?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good question.
Specific.
I'll just assume that I'm like into my house. I'll say tacos.
Okay.
Taco Tuesday.
There you go.
I'm going to go barbecue since you went specifically with tacos. So I'm going to go barbecue because I'm an enchilada guy.
There you go,
Same.
Francis. Best player you've played with?
Best player I've played with.
For more than an hour?
Yeah, like
Yeah. When you,
Like teammate?
It could be an hour. It could be an hour.
wow.
Okay.
You know what? I'm very torn by this. Someone else.
I'll go Sebald, Max Sebald.
There you go.
Israel.
Good choice. I'm trying to remember all the personalities that played on the Lake Placid team that won Lake Placid Masters Championship.
Subtle.
Yeah. Humble brag. Joe Walters was on that team.
There you go. Good choice.
Yeah.
Jordan?
I'm
going to say me.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with this because I'm going to go like more team oriented, and I'm going to say a tie between Ryan Hotelling and Chad Amadon, two of our really good friends.
There you go.
Both of them are the best players that I've ever played with. And Francis, obviously, but I can't say him. He's right here.
Oh.
Can I change my answer?
Yeah, can I
Why
change
not?
mine too?
Because also no disrespect to
Rapid
Joe
fire is out the
whatsoever, but there was another guy on that team. His name is Brett Queener, and he played goalie and defensive midfield and offensive midfield. So I might have to go with Brett Queener. He was a pretty amazing athlete and lacrosse player.
Who's the best player of all time?
Ooh.
Oh, man.
Oh man.
The best. One of my favorites, who's also could be the best, Mikey Powell. Savage.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the best, but he's one of my favorites. Jim Brown.
Hey, I can appreciate the Jim Brown argument. I just don't buy it.
You didn't see it live.
Yeah, I just didn't see it live, and the game has changed so much. It's hard.
But think about why the game has changed, though. He created his own game where all rules had to be implemented because
seriously,
he was so dominant. He was warding off and crazy. I don't know who I think the best player is.
I always take issue with this. It's so hard to compare between generation. So like that especially with basketball, because it's a constant conversation. Who's the greatest of all time? It's almost impossible to say. Like Michael Jordan's the obvious choice for us right now, because maybe not for Danny. He's younger than It's like it's the obvious choice is Michael Jordan or Kobe or and you could put LeBron in that conversation. It's the same conversation all the time. Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points in a game. Like, how is he not in that conversation? And it's because generationally, it's hard to make those comparisons.
Yeah.
So I try and keep that in mind when I have that conversation in lacrosse. So when you say greatest of all time, I'm going to be biased to like who I saw live and who I watched when I was like first getting into it. And that's why Casey Powell's the greatest of all time.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you could pick any number of 22s from a certain era, a certain spectrum, and that could be it. I'm probably going to have to go with, Gary Gay or Mikey Powell. If we're talking about offensive players, that's one thing. In lacrosse specifically, where the positions are very different, I don't think you can have a best overall player, right? You got to split it up. Danny, what are you going with?
I don't know, man. I'd probably go Mikey Powell, but what I really like saying, the guys that get me most excited in the game today are, back in like the 90s when you had those two-way midfielders and that's starting to come back a little bit now. Those guys really, I think those guys are just ballers.
Yeah. Like Ryan Conrad from Virginia. It's
Ryan Conrad, who's the kid from Princeton too. The kid from Princeton was really good too. Two-way guy.
I
forget who was
Schreiber? Tom Schreiber?
Oh,
Schreiber.
No, Zach. The Canadian guy, right?
Yeah, he was good. He was a two-way guy.
Zach Courier. Yeah.
Zach Courier.
But think about
incredible too. Schreiber is incredible.
Yeah.
Think about watching that team, that Cornell team that had Max Sebald and John Glenn. Think about John Glenn. He faced off, played offense, would go down, would probably play defense, and then he'd go back and take the next face off. Like, that guy was an animal and doesn't get talked about. And those two guys in a lot of ways carried those Cornell teams where they, obviously Pennell was there as a freshman, I think, when they were at their high point, but shout out to two-way midfielders everywhere.
Well,
sure.
That goes back to my pick of best player I played with, Chad Amidon. He was that guy for us. He played every spot as
everything. Man up, man down.
Yeah. Incredible.
And defense face off. Yeah.
DJ Constable, when he was at Duke, he was an incredible pull. Like, I remember he played some man up with a long stick.
He had the game winner in the national championship. Yeah. He won. I think he took the face off, won the face off, took it down and scored with the long pull, which is something you haven't seen in how long. It's crazy.
One of my buddies right now, Francis, is living. One of my close friends, Cole McCormack, who played at Cornell, he's been living with John Glenn out in Wyoming.
Oh, really? Tell him I gave John Glenn a big shout out today.
For sure.
That's great. And last one. After all that, to reel it all in, Knicks or Nets, fellas?
Knicks. Come on.
This is my answer.
Perfect.
What Dolan is, I want it to be the Knicks. I want it to be the Knicks, but I can't say the Knicks. I just can't until Dolan sells the team. The Nets.
Wow.
The Nets have strong ties to the San Diego community, so I'm gonna have to go there. Interested to see how the newest super team works out, though. I feel like it's not going to work out.
They seem injured all the time. Guys just injured there all the time. I don't know. That's a good point.
You know,
we shall see. Lakers are injured too.
As we do often, Wayne and I, before we logged on tonight, had a conversation about the Knicks, as we do almost every night. And it takes I'm going to just say this. It takes a lot of guts to say you're a Knicks fan. And that's what, you know what? I'm a Knicks fan. I still am. To say that proudly, I'm still in. I'm still in.
I'm still in. Going down with the ship.
Did you guys see the recent one? Dolan threw a guy at MSG for wearing like a Fire Dolan shirt or something.
Yeah.
He just threw him out. He said, like, you can't come in here.
Yep.
It's like he is can't root
Another level.
Too funny.
I want to tie in something to real quick to shout out Mikey Diggs last week, who we had on, and to connect with Tufts Lacrosse. We were talking about social media and how social media has played a role in lacrosse. And I would have to say that out of any team in any division in lacrosse, Tufts has the most, is the best follow on Instagram when it comes to lacrosse programs. Do you know who's behind that?
Yeah. So I'm very close with who's behind it. He's an amazing dude, Drew Ennis, who I have to shout out, because if you guys haven't seen it, he also did a Bronx Lacrosse short film that came out a few years ago. It's 5-6 minutes. He's incredibly talented and honestly doesn't get enough credit. I mean, if you look at it now, kids go on YouTube and they know about Tufts Lacrosse because of what he's done on social media. And kids want to be Tufts Lacrosse players. And that has just been so great for getting recruits. It's been such a huge part of the program. He's doing an amazing job, Drew. Super talented.
Nice.
Incredible. That's how I found out about Bronx Lacrosse too. I saw the film. It was awesome. If you want to plug that too, Dan, where can we see that? And again, where can we go to contribute, go to donate?
Yeah, so I can send all that. So to contribute, you go to bronxlacrosse.org/donate to support our program. And then our video is actually, it's unfortunately been removed from YouTube due to some song copyright issues.
Copyright, yeah.
It happens all the time. So we're on Vimeo now, which was so upsetting because we were getting to like 40,000 views or something like that. And then the view count done. So we're on Vimeo right now, and you can just find that right on our website.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dan, awesome. Great having you. Last question, right? If you could sum it up real quick. The Bronx is such a cool community, rich in cultural history, rich in music history, great culinary scene there. What's awesome about the Bronx? What's the best thing about the Bronx?
I mean, the people, man. The Bronx is amazing. The community aspect and how everybody knows each other. Everybody's, they all grew up together. The close ties in the community is something that I'm really trying to continue to ingrain myself in with the program. The community element has just been, not to circle back and sound cliche about that again, but it really is. It really is that. It's an amazing place. A ton of different people from so many different backgrounds, coming from all different places of the world that get to the Bronx. So it's super awesome place. We got to get you guys out to Francis when you're out east, and Jordan, we got to get you guys to a game.
Absolutely.
Birthplace of hip hop.
Of course.
How could I not want to go?
Yes, sir.
Birthplace of hip hop, man.
Awesome.
Cardi B and A Boogie, they're from Highbridge.
I was going to say,
the area of where our schools are. So one of our partner schools is the Highbridge Green School, and Highbridge is exactly where A Boogie and Cardi B are from. Cardi B went to elementary school right across from our partner school, and A Boogie is still pretty active in the community. He passes out backpacks and does a lot of different community stuff. So he's been great too.
That's awesome.
Love it. Danny, thank you for your time. Appreciate catching up with you and hearing what you all have cooking. Congratulations.
You guys are awesome, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks, Danny.
All right, fellas. Am I good here?
You're good. Thanks, pal.
You guys are awesome. Really impressed.
Dan, you're the man, bro. Keep it up.